Welcome to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point, presented by BetMGM.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not sure what your emotional level is like right now, your heart rate, or anything, or your frustration level. But all of them were up today after what we just watched. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke, I don't know even where to start.
My heart rate's flat. After watching that game and ending like that, it's over.
So many ways to talk. Let's just start in overtime. Number one, Diontae Johnson cannot fumble the ball there.
No.
We'll start there because, quite frankly, they were already in Boswell range at that point. And then at the end, we can debate this all you want, but they were in Boswell range. It might have been a long field goal, but he's used to that. That last play call to Freiermuth, I know he had it fumbled. Even if he makes it, that's just a couple of yards more. Why even risk it? At that point, you could run it up the middle, you could spike the ball, or spike the ball then and just let him try. Were you shocked at that call? I mean, the fumble is the fumble. It didn't go out of bounds. I was kind of hoping it would just creep out of bounds.
You know, I wouldn't have a problem with the call. It was a great execution. Freiermuth has to hold on to the football right there. You're a guy, and you have sure hands, and that's what they rely on you to make big catches. And for him to drop that ball like that, it's going to be a big learning experience for him. But now the Steelers take this tie and don't give the best kicker in the NFL an opportunity to kick for the win. That's a tough way to come out with this tie.
All right, another thing that since we're going to pick this apart, and we welcome you to listen. We're going to have postgame coming up here today shortly from Heinz Field. You're going to hear from Mike Tomlin. There were a whole bunch of injuries, but I'm going to go back to it was 16-10, and this was really something that I did not like. And I saw it a few games ago where they decided on 4 straight downs to give the ball to Najee Harris. Yeah. And Harris was good today. He's always difficult to tackle in tough yards. So they have the ball 1st and goal. They're down 16-10. And instead of running the ball once, they threw the ball 3 different times, including a bad pass by Mason Rudolph that bounced past into Ray McLeod. That should have been a touchdown. It was a bad pass by Rudolph. Your take on that play calling. Let's start there because the play calling I thought was not acceptable.
Oh, it wasn't acceptable, and that's bad. You have Najee Harris, who is having a lot of success running the football. They're averaging 5 yards a carry, and you get down 1st and goal in the 5, and then what you do right there, you run a quick slant to Washington, and you have no room with 5 yards between the line of scrimmage and the end zone, and then you go and you do a rollout. There's nowhere to go with the football. He throws it away. Then you come back, and he has Ray McLeod open in the end zone, Bob, and he throws the ball in the dirt. I mean, to me, it's unacceptable. You cannot make 3 calls like that when you have one of the best running backs in the NFL, in my opinion, right now, running the way he's running and having that happen.
Yeah, just keep it simple. You have an opportunity to take the lead there. Santoso missed a point after earlier, so a touchdown there gives you probably a 17-16 lead. Instead, they had to settle for 3. And that was a missed opportunity for me. That if they do what they're supposed to do there, and I think they would have gotten 3 yards to get a touchdown, but they chose to throw it 3 different times. Now, let's evaluate Mason Rudolph because, obviously he found out last night Ben Roethlisberger tested positive, or at least is in the reserve COVID list, whatever the case is. I'm sure they'll update that coming up. But he had very little time, although he had 2 practice days this week taking snaps with the first team. Chris, I think that was certainly to his advantage. But at the same time, first drive was really good. They made a touchdown pass to his college teammate, James Washington. After that, not so much. Evaluate his performance today.
Well, I think it's a mixed bag in my opinion, Bob. When you look at it right now, he practiced Wednesday and Thursday. Yes, I'll give that to you. But he practiced with the mindset that he was just taking these reps, wasn't really preparing to play because Ben was going to come back. Ben practiced Friday. So he really did not know he was going to play until sometime Saturday. He didn't have any opportunity to really prep himself. Also, you couple that with the playing conditions. It was cold, it was rainy, and so not only were your hands cold, but then you have the water that comes on your hands and you can't get dry. Snow is completely different. I've played in these conditions. It's very difficult. I believe that's the reason why a lot of these throws came out bad, because of the drizzle and the cold.
Let's talk about the first drive of the game, though, because this was an impressive drive right out of the chute. They took the lead at that point, and I thought, okay, this might be one of those games the Steelers need. A little kind of breather, a laugher. It wasn't that way. Detroit plays it tough. I'll give them credit. But the first drive, they featured Najee Harris quite a bit, and they also featured Mason Rudolph. And again, the touchdown pass to Johnson was nicely delivered.
And he was on the money on that drive, Bob. That was before it started to rain, too, right? Mm-hmm. Rain came sometime later. And so you look at it, those throws were great. He also threw a nice ball to James Washington. Then they got a pass interference call that moved the ball 20-plus yards. And so to me, that's kind of who Mason Rudolph is. And I think that, he's going to be playing next week, so that's what I anticipate he'll be doing next week against the Chargers. But then the drizzle came down, and you saw Jared Goff. We can't expect a lot from him, but both of these quarterbacks struggled. And I keep saying this, the weather had a major role in how these quarterbacks played.
Rudolph did deliver the hit of the day, though, because he was running for something and got 26 yards on a play that looked like it was trapped.
Yeah.
He reversed field, went downfield, and then delivered a hit to, I think it was a Walker of Detroit. I mean, he laid him out.
It was
and
awesome.
that's a dangerous
That's
play, but
football
at the
now,
same
Bob.
time, he got the crowd into it at that point.
Yeah, the problem, and, it could have been him laying on the ground
could
instead
have
of
been.
Walker. But I love that. I love football. I love physical. I love nasty, and I love how he gets up and he was fired up. I think he was at first surprised that he wasn't the one laying there on the ground. But that's something that we're not accustomed to seeing in the last couple of years from Ben, because Ben just doesn't have the legs anymore. Mason's still a young guy, but it was fun to see that energy, to see that excitement, and to see him run the football. Something that hopefully we'll be able to see a little more of next week.
Now, you said something right now that I don't know if I totally understand or get. That is that Ben probably won't play next week, but he is a vaccinated person, which means that the rules on that are different. Like Aaron Rodgers wasn't vaccinated, so he had to go like a 10-day stretch where he couldn't do anything, was activated just today or yesterday to play in today's game. But being a vaccinated person, I think the rules are a little bit different, aren't they? If you prove 2 negative tests back-to-back days and no symptoms, you can play because you are vaccinated.
But I read something somewhere today on Twitter, talked about a 10-day period, and it could be 10 days. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, when do they count his start date, right? And he has to do 2 negative tests. He, can't be symptomatic. He was symptomatic. We know that. So they're going to do some protocols here, and they're going to figure that out. But in my mind, COVID lasts more than 8 days, 9 days, Bob.
Yeah, but it depends on the symptoms. It also depends on the negative testing. Being vaccinated, I don't think that 10-day thing applies to vaccinated people. I may be wrong, but I got to double check that.
Yeah, that's
who
politics.
Who knew we were going to sit here talking about
come on. I mean, really,
vaccinations for a
we know
virus?
that vaccinated people can still pass the virus, so it doesn't matter if he's vaccinated or not. He's still going to have COVID in 10 days.
All right. Here's one thing the Steelers do not need in 10 days or next week or 1 day from now. That is poor tackling habits. I gave them an F in the first half for the way they tackled. Quite frankly, Jared Goff was of no threat to them. He only had 30 yards well into the third quarter passing, and yet, with no threat of a pass game, they ran it right down the Steelers' throat. I thought Devin Bush was invisible, and when he was visible, he was missing tackles, same as Minkah Fitzpatrick. These are things that should not happen for a group like this, right? I mean, they're awful examples of missed tackles.
And you pride yourself in being a very physical defense, and this has happened way too many times this season. The Seahawks comes to my mind really quickly in the second half when they ran all over the Steelers defense. And then today, I watched this defense. I don't know if they came out into this game thinking that it was going to be an easy game and they were just going to be able to come out and push these Lions around because of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it was the Lions that were pushing the Steelers around. And you look at the linebackers, I don't think I saw a tackle at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage by an inside linebacker until 11:31 left in the fourth quarter, the 26th run of the game. And you look at this, guys weren't getting off blocks, even up front. Even T.J. Watt was getting pushed around on the edge because they bring the offensive lineman to the other side. They weren't playing with good technique. They weren't getting off blocks. I mean, to me, it was a dumpster fire defensively. They could not stop the run until after that first drive of the second half.
And that first drive of the second half, you thought maybe at halftime things would change a little, but they got worse, actually. First, it was run by Swift of 12, and then Igwe-Buike for 18, and then Igwe-Buike for 42. Boom, 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 just like that. The same thing that had happened in the first half happened in the second half. Now, after that, they clamped it down, and you saw 20 yards on 13 carries after that. So it took a while, but they got that part of it correct. In the meantime, the offense continued to sputter, and they couldn't really do much against the Detroit defense, which had given up a lot of points in a lot of games, Chris. And this was and maybe the timeouts at the end of the game by Detroit indicated that they didn't really trust the Steelers' offense to get in. They thought it wasn't much of a threat. Whatever the case may be, they allowed the Steelers to stay in the game before the Freiermuth fumble.
Oh, they absolutely did. I thought that the strategy of calling those timeouts, they thought they were going to get the ball back.
Right.
Because they didn't believe that Rudolph can make those throws. He did, and it gave the Steelers actually more time with an opportunity, if Freiermuth wouldn't have fumbled, to kick a field goal to win that game. So it came to backfire on them. But at the end of the day, Bob, let's be honest. Neither of these teams deserved the win. They both struggled. Both quarterbacks struggled. They both had great running games. Both defenses really did not show up in moments of the game. It was the turnovers, again, that impacted the game, and too many by the Steelers.
Yeah, there's no question about that. The Johnson one really sticks out to me. I mean, the Freiermuth one can't happen either, but that would have been a long field goal attempt. But I thought that he would get that opportunity. And if he did, Boswell's been good, the best kicker at Heinz Field, 50-plus yards. All you wanted was an opportunity, and it was there for the offing. It was there. and they couldn't do it. But the Diontae Johnson fumble, you just can't do it. He had to be aware once he started to cut inside on that play, Chris, that there was going to be somebody trying to hack that ball away, and it happened pretty easily, I thought.
And that happens quite often in football. You're trying to get extra yardage, and then sometimes it's just good just to get down. Get down, take the yardage you got, and play the next snap. And there, he had everybody surrounding him, the Detroit Lions, that they were coming from every angle. And that swat, great play by Gilbert. He got beat. And then he came back and created that takeaway.
Mike Tomlin at the podium, live right here on Pittsburgh CW.
Acknowledged the fight, but didn't congratulate him for it. You know, quite frankly, that's going to be required, man, when you're trying to do and be what we're trying to do and be. You know, that fight, that competitive spirit, that smiling in the face of adversity has got to be a component of any and everything that we do. But I did acknowledge it. I'm appreciative of the efforts. Just too sloppy to win. Core fundamental things, man, you know. We didn't tackle well enough throughout the game defensively. And then in the most critical moments, man, we didn't maintain possession of the ball on offense. And so we got to accept responsibility for the outcome of the game, and we do. We look at what it is that we can do and how we could have done it better in terms of changing the outcome of the game, and we didn't do enough. And those are two of the things that highlighted it just from a knee-jerk response or a feel in terms of watching it from within the stadium. We'll make the necessary corrections and learn from this, hopefully, and move forward. On the injury front, Joe Hayden has got a midfoot sprain. T.J. Watt's got a hip and a knee that's got to be evaluated. Trey Turner's got an ankle. Dotson's got an ankle. And so we'll assess those guys, and I'll give you an update regarding those guys on Tuesday the way that we normally do. Tip of the cap to those guys. Detroit, man, they played. They were competitive. They challenged us in a lot of ways. But it's not about them, or it's not about anyone that we play. It's about us and the quality of our work and execution, the completeness of our plan and so forth, the adjustments we make from a staffing standpoint, and there wasn't enough of that to secure victory. Questions?
Mike, was it just tackling with the run game early because you shut it down kind of midway through the second half? It was,
largely. You know, there's a guy out of place or two there initially, but if you had to, wrap it in a bow and talk about it globally or largely, we had to tackle better. And as the game wore on, we did, and we were able to settle it down, but the damage was the damage.
Mike, what did you think of Rudolph's performance?
He did what we expected him to do. He gave us a chance to win. But that's not the first opportunity for him, man. This guy's been at it a while, and so we expected him to play well, and we thought he gave us a chance to win.
How much did the game plan change with Rudolph going in for Ben?
It did not.
Mike, first drive of the second half, you had first and goal at the 5 and had 3 straight passes. Why not Najee?
We had a run-pass option on first down, man. They gave us a look. I think they had 6 defensive linemen in the game. And so, we had an opportunity in the passing game, but when it's incomplete, it opens it up for that judgment. And so I own all of that.
Mike, you said sloppy game. For those of us that weren't down on the field, what were the conditions like? And
the conditions were the same for both teams, and so, we don't seek comfort there.
Mike, can you kind of take us through the last 24 hours, learning that Ben was not going to be available, and what you guys had to do to adjust and just that whole process?
Really wasn't a lot of adjustments. He was symptomatic on Saturday. We tested him. He was positive. We're thoughtful about distancing him from the group anyway, in an effort to protect him. And so wasn't a lot of concern about contacts and things of that nature. We just simply elevated Dwayne Haskins and moved forward.
Anyone else?
You mentioned that they played 6 defensive linemen down inside the 5. They also played a lot of tackle eligible as well. That contributed all to their running ability.
Not taking anything away from them, but their running ability had a lot to do with our tackling or lack thereof, and that's why I acknowledged it. Obviously, they had a good plan, man. They had a bye week. They did some things that were challenging in all 3 phases, but that's life in this league. You're gonna play people coming off of bye weeks. We came off of a bye week. That's just life in this league. For us, the significant component of their run game was our sloppy tackling at times.
What do you attribute the missed tackles to, though? Is there scheme-wise, technique-wise?
I'm not going to attribute it to anything other than what it is.
Like, into the first half, you had 4th down and 2. What went into the decision to take the points there?
Just decided to take the points.
Mike, how would you assess the play of the guys that had to step in for all the guys that ended up going down?
We expect those guys to play well. You know, you're a starter or you're a starter in waiting. There's a fine line between being a starter and backup. We have respect for the men. All the guys in the helmet are capable of being a component of helping us win. And so we proceed with that understanding and expectation. We're not surprised. We don't throw pep rallies when guys answer the bell and play well. We expect them to be competent.
Mike,
how much has Joe Hayward worked at guard since he's been with you?
Joe's very versatile. That's one of the reasons why we had interest in him in free agency. He's played tackle, both tackles. He's played guard. It's all over his resume.
Did you consider putting Mason under center more with the issues Kendrick was having with his snaps?
Not really because of that, no.
Mike, was there any reason for the high snaps that you could see? There's about 4 or 5 of them.
You know, it's really irrelevant when you think about it, isn't it? You know, there are things we got to do and do it at an acceptable level, fundamental things. CQ exchanges is no different when we're in gun than when we're under. We're a professional football group, and there's a certain expectation there.
How did you feel the other outside linebackers did after Watt went out, and did you see Highsmith take his play up a tick as the overtime and 4th quarter went
Again,
on?
I'm never surprised when guys step up and answer the bell when given an opportunity. We expect it. We prepare for it. We prepare them for it. They prepare themselves for it. And so, you know, that was expected.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's Mike Tomlin after the game, obviously frustrated. He talked about fundamental breakdowns, and we talked in our pregame show, Chris, about how today, with no Ben Roethlisberger, fundamentals have got to be on par. No turnovers, penalties, whatever the case may be. There are a lot of penalties, but I think that's just the trend in the NFL these days.
Yeah.
But fundamental football was not very good. Tackling was bad, as he described. Kendrick Green had problems for whatever reason. Those are fundamental things that cannot happen, especially against a team that is salivating for its first win.
Yeah, and I thought Mason early in the game when he had a high snap was able to stay composed and get the ball out and throw for a nice first down. But that one in overtime really hurt the Steelers when Kendrick Green, snapped the ball up over his head. Fundamentally, defensively, I think they were lacking. And Coach Tomlin talked a lot about the missed tackles, but I really believe when we go back and watch this film, there was a very non-physical approach at the line of scrimmage and at the second level of the linebackers of the Steelers defense, and that the missed tackles will be a secondary concern compared to the actual execution at the line of scrimmage inside the box.
Here's a number that I didn't expect coming into this game. The Steelers ran 81 offensive plays, 50 of them were passes, 31 rushes, and Harris had a good game. That, to me, I didn't expect it. I thought it would be a little bit tilted toward a run. But it wasn't.
Well, think about this. And the Steelers' 4 losses, they're over 70%. I haven't done the math on that, but let's say about 70% pass to run when they win in their wins. They are 50-50 in run to pass.
But you didn't expect it on a bad day.
On a rain day like this.
And with a quarterback who hadn't played all year, and Harris running well. That didn't make sense. We're going to take a break here. We have player interviews coming up and much more. You're watching a special Steelers edition of The Extra Point right here on Pittsburgh CW. Steelers tie, 16-16. You know what they say about ties, especially when it comes to like Father's Day. You don't want ties. You don't want ties. They're 5-3-1 now. We'll talk about more when we come back.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point, presented by BetMGM.
All right, welcome back. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you. You see the final score, 16-16. So it's not a loss, but it's not a win. And it could be an impactful day moving forward for the Steelers, who now head to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers next Sunday night on Sunday Night Football. And they're going to have to really watch this injury report in case you missed it. Joe Hayden left with a mid-foot sprain. Dotson, Trey Turner, 2 offensive guards, had ankle injuries. And T.J. Watt has a hip and a knee. And Mike Tomlin said he needs further evaluation, which is not exactly encouraging. But then again, he was hanging around on the field. So you've been in those kind of situations. Chris, what does that mean for T.J. Watt? Could it be more serious than we're thinking?
Well, listen, yeah, right now we're going to go to Mason Rudolph at the podium.
Yeah, he's at the podium right now. We'll come back to that right after this. Mason talking right now.
Mason, what was how to go last night? How did you find out about Ben and sort of, take us through that?
Coach Tomlin called me, and he's always been great with communication. Making sure guys are aware as soon as he knows. So he told me before we, had meetings at the hotel. So, it was good to have a quarterback meeting and a walkthrough last night to kind of get yourself mentally acclimated, ready to rock. So.
Mace, was it good to have those couple days during the week though too?
Yeah, I think it's always good, when you can, get as many reps as you can during the week to stay sharp, and so make the most of those. And I think that it's fortunate to be in the situation, to get those reps on Wednesdays and keep sharp and a lot of other guys around the league that don't get that work as a backup. So I look forward to those days.
Mason, how was the ball? Was it wet, hard to throw? I mean, it was.
Yeah, I think everyone was dealing with that. Both sides of the ball. There's things you change, but obviously some throws I want to have back. I think the weather affected everybody out there a bit, but you got to find a way to get it done, and we didn't tonight. So we'll take a look and try to fix those mistakes.
Mason, it looked like Kendrick had a couple high snaps. Is there anything you can point to there, and what do you kind of say to him to settle him back down in the game and get on the same page?
Yeah, well, we got some in between those series and made sure he was honed in, but that happens. That's he's done a great job. That's never been an issue with Kendrick, so I don't expect that, but he's a young player and obviously we're all dealing with those weather conditions and it affects different people differently. But he's, like I said, I got a lot of confidence in KG.
Did you hear from Ben at all? Did he call you last night, or did you talk to him, get any advice from Ben?
Oh, no, we did not communicate, no.
Basically, you mentioned a couple of throws that you wish you had back. You seemed to react like one of those was the one to Ray in the end zone.
Yeah.
Was that one that you just saw him?
Yeah. I mean, the glove kind of grabbed it a little bit there at the end, and I got to make that throw. He did a great job of getting open for us down there in the red zone, and it's one I got to make, and I don't want to make an excuse. I got to make that throw. So.
Mason, when you found out that you were going to start, is it too late in the process to address the scheme to your liking?
No, I think we talked last night. Coach Canada, Coach Sullivan, and they've always done a great job. Whether it was last year, the last week of the season, just giving me a lot of input. And every quarterback's different with what they like in situational football, third downs, red zone, 2-point play. So we had a long conversation, and kind of they were honed in on what I liked, which I don't think we changed much, but there's different plays that you like, maybe that Ben didn't like, and we like different things, and so you try to get that communicated.
I'm sorry, you tried to get down. You guys got down to the 5. You had a lot of run plays there. You had a couple scrambles, first and goal, and then 3 straight pass plays. What was the play calling sequence there? What happened there?
Yeah, I think that first one, RPO football, and it's obviously it's a box count type of a situation, and when they pack the box, you gotta try to make a throw, make it happen, and then I think we rolled out the next, and then the third down play escapes me, but I mean, when you get down there that close, you need to come away with 7 and not 3, and we know that, and I was pleased with the way we did that on the opening drive and punched it in, but we got to close. We got to close the door on them early and go up by a few more scores, and we did.
Mason, what did you think when you saw that defensive back coming at you on that scramble? You were pretty pumped after you got up.
Yeah. I mean, trying to extend the play with my legs, and it doesn't happen often, but I think when there's room there to call your own number, I enjoy that, and just to try, always try to think about ball security and those, and, 2 hands on it, and don't try to be a hero and then lose the football. So, I enjoyed that stuff.
You took a big hit there.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
He didn't get up.
No, he didn't. No, yeah. So, I hope he's doing well. Those are violent collisions, and that's what football is. So, hope everyone's safe and recovering.
Mason, what's Najee's demeanor like in the huddle? I mean, you guys obviously lean on him
very calm.
A lot. Do you feel like he's a rookie, or how do you sort of?
No, he's wise beyond his years and very calm, and he's played in big games his whole life. So he's a smart dude. He's great in protection, and obviously catching the ball out of the backfield. You saw him tonight. He extended some of our drives there at the end to give us a chance. So, he's got a long career.
Jason, they've been so susceptible against the run, especially their last time out. Was there something that they showed different defensively today that even in this weather you decided to throw as much? You as a team, not you decided to throw as much as you did.
Well, I think we want to run the ball. That's been an emphasis for us all year, and I think we've done a better job of that. If you look at the last few weeks, every team's different. A lot of times, when they have seven people in the box and you got 6 to block, you got to make a play on the outside and know that running into that, it's a numbers game. It's how we teach, offensive football. So, we had to throw it at times, but I think every times we ran the ball well, but we got to get better across the board.
Did you have total autonomy there to make all those calls?
Well, that's RPOs are, box count, and when they pack the box, there's routes and combinations that you have to throw the ball. So that's what you do. That's what the coaches teach you to do when things are packed. You gotta make a play on the outside.
Did you say anything to Pat at the end of the game?
Yeah, he was trying to get out of bounds, and I thought that was our best opportunity to get quick 5-6 and get out of bounds. And he's a good player. Obviously, hurt for him. He's never had a ball security issue, and it happens to all of us in those moments at times. And young player, so he's a hard worker, and I know he's going to come back and attack this week. And we all have things to correct. Trust me. I have plenty of balls that I would like back, and so does everyone on our offense. So.
We have time for 2 more.
All right, that's Mason Rudolph talking about what happened today, especially in some of the critical situations. RPO football at the goal line, and it didn't work out. And they never gave the ball to Najee Harris, not once. Chris and I will debate that. I know we have different viewpoints on that. Right now, I think Alex Highsmith is in the microphone in one of the other areas. Let's go there now and hear from number 56.
You got to give great effort, and we definitely lacked in that area today, but we know that we got to come back better, and we will come back better.
Alex, Joe Schobert was saying that it felt like maybe you need to take practice more seriously as a group. Do you feel that? Did you see any of that heading into this game?
I think, we could practice, but ultimately, practice is measured by the outcome of the game. And so, we didn't end up with the victory, so, we got to be better at practice, and that's where it starts. And so we know we got to have a great week coming up.
Alex, after TJ went out of the game, how do you think things kind of changed? Were they sliding potential more towards you as they started to throw the ball more, or was it just kind of the normal same game plan one-on-one?
I couldn't really tell. I was just trying to go out there and do my job, but I'm praying for TJ. I know he's gonna want to be back out there as soon as he can.
Alex, what was your view on the roughing the passer? I know you were there, but Trey was there as well. What did you see?
I don't even know. I tried to get out of the way when I came over, so I don't even know who was on. So, but. I didn't really have much of a viewpoint on it.
Did you even make contact? Did you feel anything?
I didn't.
You didn't feel anything?
Because when I came up, I kind of went like this.
Right. That's why I'm asking.
To get up.
If there's no... If TJ's not... We'll see what happens to TJ, but, if for whatever reason he can't go, you and Derek and Taco, you feel good about it?
Ultimately here the standard is a standard, so, whoever's in, we've got to be able to produce, and so that's the mindset we're going to have. But I know TJ's going to want to get back as soon as he can, so that's just the mindset the three of us got to have, going into this game.
Anything else?
Alex, sorry if you've already been asked. Just talked over. What was the message in the locker room after that game?
Just keep our heads up. That's all we can do. Also, if we hang our head low, if you don't want to be here, then you can get out. We got to all come together as a team and as a unit, because we know we can be better and we will be better.
All right, that's Alex Highsmith, who is going to have to obviously play well if T.J. Watt misses a game here coming up. But he played well today.
He's going to get more attention if T.J. Watt's not in there now. They're going to look to him because they're going to look to Alex Highsmith to provide that pressure off the edge. And I thought Alex played well today. 11 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, only 1 QB hit, no sacks. I'd like to see him get a little more pressure on the quarterback. But what I liked about him was he was knocking the edge back. He was very disciplined, Bob, when the plays were away and we're looking for that play action and for that boot. I was really impressed by his play.
Cam Heyward is a guy who continues to put up numbers every single week. Let's go there now and hear from number 97.
Not enough plays made by us to win the game, offense, defense, special teams. I know it's a tie, but if it's not a win.
We'll try to get back to Cam over there having little video problems. He disappeared. One thing he didn't do, he did not disappear in the game.
I'll tell you
today.
what,
I can tell you that.
Cam Heyward always shows up.
He always shows up. And, again, I think if you look at his season, it's not only a Pro Bowl, but it's an all-pro season as he continues to carve out what should be a Hall of Fame career, where it's headed. And he doesn't have Tyson Alualu. He does not have Stephon Tuitt still out with an injury. He's relying on a lot of young guys and trying to, get them to be better too. But in the meantime, all the focus is on him, and yet he still had a sack today, a lot of disruptive plays. It's been pretty amazing what he's done here at his age.
Yeah, and I have not been shy about my admiration for Cam Heyward and how he's playing. And I almost said Casey Hampton, right? I mean, he's playing.
He's in town today.
Yeah, he's in town today, and I saw him. It was wonderful to see him. But Cam Heyward, his technique is impeccable. And he's always playing with good leverage. He has a motor. You saw he saved another touchdown today. There was one run play down in the red zone. There's so many plays, Bob. We got to go back and watch this film. But Cam Heyward, again, turned and ran to the ball. If he did not make the tackle, it would have been another touchdown. I mean, Cam Heyward is just, to me, T.J. Watt, as well as he played, Cam Heyward is right in there neck and neck in terms of the MVP of this team.
There's no question. All right, we seem to have the video fixed now. Let's go back to Heinz Field and hear from Cam Heyward.
Tide's concerned. We're in this game to win. I don't care how it's done, but we got to be better. We have to get more guys to the ball. I know sometimes we're going to be short. I understand that. That's part of the game. But you got to get 10 other guys to the ball. And we got to do a better job of shedding blocks. And it's got to be team defense, not just one guy.
Cam, I know he's on the other side of the ball, but what does it do for you guys when you learn the night before that Ben Roethlisberger is going to be out?
How can I say this nicely? Shit happens. And that just happens. Man, we all want Ben to be out there, but that just happens. I told the guys before the game, we wish Ben to get healthy, but Ben's not the only guy that makes this team. This is a team game, and we had full confidence in Mason, and we still do. Ben's got to get healthy, but if Mason has to go, we believe in him.
Tim, I know you say next man up, next man up, next man up. You lose Joe, you lose TJ in this game. At what point, with the guys that you're already playing without, does it become a tipping point?
Until 53 are gone. We go into camp, and everybody gets a chance to practice. We go into practice, everybody gets a chance to practice. If you're not ready for those moments, shame on you. I believe fully and confident in every guy in that locker room. It's just about being ready in those moments. Today, we didn't make enough plays, but let's see what happens Sunday.
Cam, the Seattle game, admittedly, you guys tackled horribly, sloppy. Was this on the order of that? A little better, a little worse, eh?
Yeah. You never want to see 199 in the third quarter. We got to do a better job. The type of game it was, they really got a chance to stick with the run. We got to buckle up. I'm first to say I got to be better, and starts in practice.
Does it get demoralizing? I mean, after Goff threw the ball 10 times through 3 quarters, you know they're going to run the ball and they'll still be successful. Does it get demoralizing?
I have no time to think about being demoralized. When the game's in the balance like that, just trying to get a stop. We got some stops late. So be it. Just got to keep battling. I'll whine and complain about it after the game, but during the game, I'm locked in.
Did you have any communication?
He's been very locked in all season long. We apologize. Live TV, that stuff happens. So we apologize to you on that, on the language. But at the same time, I mean, it is what it is. They got the news. They had to adjust to it. And Mason Rudolph had the opportunity to play. We also have, he mentioned 199. That was early in the third quarter as they got carved up in the run game. And so we'll have the JP Roofing final stats coming up momentarily. But right now, a man who fumbled away a golden opportunity in overtime is speaking. That's Diontae Johnson. Let's go back to Heinz Field.
A little bit.
No, not really. But at the same time, I would say, because obviously we should have won the game, Those two plays kind of, took the momentum from us, but we just got to come back to work this week, and we'll be fine.
Diontae, did you think about getting down earlier there when you fumbled, or did you think maybe you could score there?
I was just trying to make a play at the end of the day, like everybody else would do in that situation. Get the ball like that, you trying to make a play for the team, get him in a good field position. And I didn't see the guy coming behind me, so like I say, just trying to make a play and just gonna move on from it and get better. That's all I can do.
How tough was it to hold on to the ball there?
Say it again.
Was the weather, did that impact being able to?
Nah, I just gotta hold on to the ball. That's my job. Once I catch the ball, I'm turning to a running back, so I just gotta hold on to it and work on that this week, and we'll be fine.
Diontae, what's it like all of a sudden it's not Ben and it's Mason Rudolph? What's that like from a receiver's perspective?
Gotta adapt, Obviously it's not 7 back there, so gotta play the same way. Even if he was back there, like what I'm trying to say. I didn't get, I didn't get the ball that much. I can't do nothing about that. As long as everybody else making plays, I'm happy at the end of the day, and I just got to keep working. And if the ball come my way, make a play.
Not having Chase too, was that noticeable in the way you guys kind of played against them?
Yeah, we could have used Chase, another weapon, big time guy we need. Hopefully come back this week. Like I said, we did what we can do with the guys we have, and we're just gonna keep working at the end of the day.
Guys, 2 more for Diontae.
Go ahead.
Diontae, what's the message in the locker room after this game?
We gotta play better, be sound in each phase, and really just finish. And that's what we're gonna do this week. Come to practice, execute, and just carry that same energy over to the game this Sunday.
Diontae, did you get the sense that Mason was a little amped up, maybe too amped up sometimes? It looked like a couple times he was throwing pass balls when you were expecting something a little bit less.
No, I'm sure he's just trying to make a play. We got to make him look good back there. We're going to do that this week at practice and get ready for Sunday.
All right, thanks, Diontae.
All right, Diontae Johnson, who had some catches, had some extra yards, some yak yards, but perhaps too many in overtime. He was thinking of trying to cut that ball inside, and you have to first and foremost think about the ball security. But again, there are a lot of things not to like about this game, and they got a tie. You can argue that they weren't worthy of that even. I think both of these teams played sloppy football. That's one of the most fundamentally flawed games I think I've seen at Heinz Field. Would you agree? I mean, by both teams. There were a lot of things out there.
Absolutely, both sides.
The Steelers had an opportunity at the end. I think if Bosler was looking, even if they didn't run that play to Freiermuth, even if they just ran the ball up the middle for no gain, you still would have had a 57, 58-yard field goal attempt. And he's more than capable. If you saw his first kick, it was 51. It would have been good from 65 or 6.
Bob, the Steelers didn't have any right to win this game. They had 3 turnovers. The Lions had 0. They lost the turnover battle. 3 turnovers, 2 in overtime, and they were able to finish this game in a tie. They're lucky to finish this game in a tie because they played it against a team, the Detroit Lions, that are really, really bad. And so right now you look at this, and they've got to get back to the drawing boards, because you even look at what Cam Heyward said. Cam Heyward said, the guys are short, so we need to get 10 other guys. He goes, I understand if guys are going to be short. You know what it means, a guy to be short? It means that guys are getting behind their blocks. They're not in their gaps. And so they got to get 10 other guys to the line. He's Cam Heyward, I don't know if I've seen him be short on a run play this year or for the last several years. He also said that the defense has to do a better job of getting off blocks. To me, that's physicality. They're not being physical. They're not getting engaged and getting off the blocks and disengaging to make plays. And to me, it's not just tackling. It's the physicality of the game was lacking in the front seven.
Yeah, and I think also those linebackers inside, Schobert and Bush, even though their numbers indicated they made tackles, a stat that needs to be kept track of is missed tackles, which we don't necessarily see on some of these reports that you get, because they had a lot of missed tackles. And if they were making tackles, it wasn't at the line of scrimmage.
And listen, those tackles didn't start coming until second half,
Right.
overtime. If you go back and look at the stats that they had, I think Devin Bush had 2 tackles up until the first drive of the second half. 2 tackles, and those were
And
20 yards downfield.
Jefferson, I don't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
He ran past him. He had some at least
so
a better
those
attempt
came,
than that.
those came, Bob, when they had 8, 9 guys in the box, where the Lions didn't have enough hats to put on the Steelers hats, and guys were coming unblocked.
We're going to take a break, come back with more. Following a 16-16 tie over at Heinz Field today, Steelers fall to 5-3-1, or up to 5-3, whatever it is. They're in second place ahead of the Bengals, and the Browns got pummeled today in New England. We'll talk more about those games when we come back right here live on Pittsburgh CW.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point, presented by BetMGM.
All right, we're back with more, and now let's check out the JP Roofing final stats in this game. Steelers, as you can see, did all right on the run game. I just expected more runs given the fact that they were doing okay. They passed the ball 50 times, Chris. But again, you mentioned the turnovers. That is never a good thing, and they survived despite a -3.
Yeah, 3 turnovers in a ball game, and you lost the turnover battle like that. You are lucky to have a tie right here. But what points out to me is 50 times throwing the ball, Bob, in a game like this where it was raining, it was cold. I think I would love to see that swing 10 plays the other way, 40 to 45 runs to 35 to 40 passes. But those turnovers, that's a sore eye.
And they tied to a team that could only muster 77 yards of passing offense with a guy who was a #1 overall pick. That's inexcusable, and it was sloppy. It's a tie that can very much hurt them later. Let's take a look at the last 6 possessions, and actually we can go back even beyond that. This is, punt. You see a lot of punt. And there were fumbles, 2 in overtime. These are just things you cannot do, and they had plenty of opportunities, and they just couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah, it was an ugly game from the time the Steelers tied the ball game up at 16. You talk about the Steelers and the Lions: punt, 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 punt. End of regulation, punt, fumble, missed field goal, punt, fumble, end of overtime. That was the drive sequence after the Steelers tied it up. What an ugly game. Neither team wanted to win this game, and neither team really deserved to win, and that's why they tied.
That's going to be a meme somewhere where you're doing punt, 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 punt.
That's unbelievable.
That's what it was. It was that kind of game. TJ Watt, obviously, they were talking earlier, no sacks. So the reason there are no sacks is Jared Goff hardly put the ball in the air. They were gouging the ball on the run game, and the Steelers didn't get the quarterback until they did. And when they did, TJ Watt got one, and then he got knee to knee with Cam Heyward in this play that he was down, and man, everyone in that stadium were thinking, what's going on here? Could it be? But he got up, went to the blue tent, did not play the rest of the game. Now he has a hip and a knee, and you wonder about that because he is so significant to this team.
Yeah, and I think that we'll hear some reports. If there's an ACL or something very, very serious, I think we would hear by now something coming out that the Steelers are really concerned about this. Remember back a month or so ago when I think it was his groin, and he sat out just to make sure he didn't make it worse. So I wonder if it's a situation just like that, Bob, where it's something that's kind of serious, maybe something he can manage. Let's just take it off and not make it any worse, and let's get ready for next week's game. I'm hoping that it's that direction versus something that's going to keep him out for a month or more.
Yeah, and with the trade of Melvin Ingram, they don't have a lot there. Taco Charlton played a lot. They're going to have to play him a lot more if that's the case. Joe Schobert speaking after the game. Let's hear from number 93 right now at Heinz Field.
Yeah, we got a lot of looks. We didn't necessarily practice during the week with their big tight end that they brought in. Obviously, we knew Fells was gone. We didn't really know what they were going to do in it to replace him, and they gave us a lot of looks, and it took us probably longer than it should have to be able to start nailing the screws down on that.
What made Tomlin say to you guys in the locker room just now before you guys came up to talk? What kind of a message?
I don't honestly remember. We got a lot of stuff to work on. He appreciates the fight, but fight is what's required to play the NFL football. And bottom line, we got to take care of the football and get the football back on defense more than we did today to expect to get a win.
It seemed like the second half, the tackling was bad, and then the overtime was really good. Was there something that changed, or what kind of happened in that third, especially that one wrong drive with it?
Yeah, well, I think it was just that third quarter, the first drive, a couple of missed tackles, and I don't have an answer for you on that. I wish I did.
Joe, does it feel like a loss in a way because of the circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially at the end, getting the ball into field goal range, trying to close out the game and get a win. A loss in the NFL a tie in the NFL always feels like a loss when you get to the locker room because you're not adding one to the win column. And I mean, it's a half game. It might make a difference at the end, but to let it slip away because you're that close definitely hurts.
There was an emphasis on missed tackles leading up to the Browns game. You guys responded holding them down. How frustrating is it to see that same problem kind of crop up today?
Yeah, it's something we have to go and execute, and it's hard to execute in the middle of the season at practice. But something we have to work on, get ourselves into those positions, and take practice seriously to be able to improve on it.
Do you feel the same way about the penalties?
All right, that's Joe Schobert after the game. And again, they had issues in the inside part of the game. They have to be better at that. T.J. Hawkinson really wasn't a factor in the pass game. He didn't need to be because all he was doing was blocking on the run game.
Yeah, and I've heard a couple things in these press conferences after the game, Bob. It's really concerning me. He said a lot of guys are talking about practice, and we have to take practice seriously. I mean,
yeah, that's not a good thing to hear.
To me, that concerns me because when you go to practice, I mean, you go out there, and if you're not in pads because late in the season, you've got to force yourself to stay low. You got to force yourself to play good technique. And that's what makes a good player versus an average player, a good defense or an offense versus an average defense and offense. I've heard too many comments in these press conferences today about practice, and that's where it starts. And then when he's right there, we need to take practice seriously. Are they just going through the motions, or are they going out there to get better and get prepared? That's in question in my mind.
Yeah, that's a good take. And when you hear that, you wonder what's going on in those situations, especially when the tackling was so bad today by that Steeler defense. We're going to take a break and look at the road ahead, which is not an easy road ahead, especially with all these injuries piling up. The Steelers, 16-16 tied today. That makes them 5-3-1. We'll talk about that and more moving forward next right here on Pittsburgh CW.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point, presented by BetMGM.
All right, now it's time to take a look at the road ahead, brought to you by your Neighborhood Ford Store. And this is where the schedule starts clamping up and getting tougher. They got the Chargers on a Sunday night, come home, actually go to Cincinnati. Cincinnati already won in Pittsburgh, although they're struggling. And then Baltimore, short week at Minnesota on a Thursday night. So what do you see from those four games?
Well, I see some tough games. And if they don't have Ben, we'll see when we get him back. But really, if they don't shore up that defense and play better in the running game, it's going to be a tough second half of the season for the Steelers. But I see all those games are winnable. They can win all those games if they get back to playing how they played the last, 4 weeks and get back to a balanced offense and stop the run on defense. I think they can win a lot of those games. It's just a matter of getting back and doing those fundamental things.
Yep, 50 passes. Najee Harris ran the ball 26 times, got over 100 yards, and he was putting up some hard yards again. That's one thing about him. He will get you yards when you least expect it, which to me, again, Chris, I go back to the 1st and goal from the 5. Yep. He should have touched it. He didn't touch it. And I have to think that's a turning point of this game. They had to settle for 3. And he's a guy, even if they have 6 guys, I don't care how they're stuffed in the box, he's your main weapon right now.
Okay, I agree with you that he should have run the ball down there, but I don't agree with you, Bob, when you say that they got to run the ball into 6 down linemen and they can't get a hat on a hat. You want to run into a wall, and he's not Superman. He's tough, but he's not Superman. When you got 6 guys at the line of scrimmage, they don't have enough guys to block him. So they have to go to the pass. That's why it's run-pass option. The next 2 plays, I would have loved to have seen them run the ball, at least one of those on 2nd down or 3rd down. And what was the killer was McLeod was wide open in the end zone, and Mason threw it in the dirt. And I have to believe, Bob, that if it's a dry day and it's not wet, he makes that throw 9.5 out of 10 times.
Yeah, but it's a critical one because it resulted in just a field goal to tie the game instead of taking the lead at that point. There's a lot to digest here. We will not be taking your calls now, but please join us tonight at 10:35 on the Sports Call. We will be taking your calls. I'd love to hear from you on what you thought of today's game and also looking ahead. That's coming up on the Nightly Sports Call presented by Ireland Contracting and FanDuel Sportsbook. And Andrew Filipponi will join me tonight from 93.7 The Fan. We also have the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. That's coming up after the late news on KDKA. Chris Muller, Will Graves, Mark Caboli. There's a lot of good talk there. And we'll talk about what Joe Schobert said about taking practice seriously and other issues as well. That's all tonight, late night. In the meantime, Chris, thanks. Always a pleasure.
Always good to be with you,
We'll
Bob.
do it next week. We'll do it every week until the end of the season. Hopefully it goes well into January. But it didn't look good today as they tie 16-16, 5-3-1 now moving forward. Thanks for joining us, and have a good night, everyone.